Hello, everyone. Welcome to Your Money Map, sponsored by the Alliance for Lifetime Income. I'm your host, Jean Chatzky. Very glad to have you along with me today. We are going to have a conversation about some very important conversations that we don't have often enough because they're just difficult. It is difficult to talk with our friends, but also with our family members about money. And yet, as I know especially well this week, it is just something that we have to do. Those of you who subscribe to my free weekly newsletter at hermoney.com, you know that I lost my stepfather recently in the last couple of weeks. And what I can tell you about the process that has happened in the days and week that followed is that there have been a lot of conversations about money. And I count myself and the members of my family as so lucky because my stepfather was the most prepared person I think I have ever met. He laid out a roadmap for us to follow. He'd had lots of conversations with my mother, with his children about what he wanted and about his wishes. And it was incredibly clear. And yet that just doesn't happen too often. And the result is that we end up with a lot of emotional hand wringing that is truly unnecessary if we just did some planning ahead of time. So, talking about the planning, and I hope spurring all of you into doing some of that planning, is exactly what we're going to do today. I have two incredible guests to help me. Jeannette Bajalia is owner and president of Petros Financial Group and owner and president and founder of Women's Worth. She's been in the financial industry for more than 35 years, and she brings a women's perspective to retirement lifestyle protection planning. Eszylfie Taylor is a $1 million roundtable, top of the table producer. He is also the president of Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. And he has been an agent for New York Life for many years before starting his own firm and launching the Taylor Method, which is his personal training method for coaching financial advisors and agents. We are all going to spend some time today talking about how to help you have those important conversations. Jeannette and Eszylfie, welcome to Your Money Map.
It's great to be with you, Jean. We're excited to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I was teeing up a little bit about the different experiences and the different life histories that you both bring to this conversation. But let me ask you to spend 30 seconds just giving our audience a little bit of background on who you are and why you think having these conversations is so important. And Eszylfie, let me start with you.
Sure. I've been an advisor now for 22 years, and so I have the conversations that you're referencing multiple times a day, right? And I think that experience bodes well for my clients because when you think about it, most people retire once, right, or pass away once. But I talk about people retiring and deal with that literally hundreds or thousands of times a year, right? So I think I can bring a lot of perspective and insights to the table that people might not think about in their ordinary or everyday lives, and so I very much believe in providing people the information to make educated decisions and empowering the people that I speak to. And then once you know better, then you can do better. I tell people all the time, you can do everything I say, half of it, none of it, your choice. But when you know, right, when you've been educated, right, then I think that gives you confidence that you can make the best decisions.
I love that. When you know better, you can do better. Jeannette, you've been a guest on this program before. We welcome you back. I know you have a special emphasis in your practice on women.
Yes, I do. Although I serve, multiple different groups, women in particular have some unique challenges facing them, particularly as more women navigate the latter life stages solo, and women get tripped up. They're navigating the rosy red brick road of retirement as a married couple, and all of a sudden, an unexpected life event, either debilitating illness or a loss of a life prematurely. And I grew up in that environment where my mother lost my father at a very early age, not being sick one day of his life abruptly, and they weren't prepared for my mother to navigate her latter life stages as a solo. And she was a widow for 33 years, living on one very small social security check because my parents were not planners. So that's what I do. Why I do what I do is to ensure that other people aren't faced with the things that I personally had to deal with, because I stepped in as the financial provider for my mother and a great aunt. So this is a very timely topic, Jean, for us to really talk about how to engage in that conversation. And I'm very pleased to be here with you.
Thank you so much, and clearly a very personal topic to you as well. Let me just remind the folks who are watching on Facebook and on LinkedIn, we welcome you to this conversation. I already see some comments in the chat. Huda, thank you so much for your nice condolences. Burnell is here as well, but join us if you've got questions for Jeannette, for Eszylfie, for both. They are incredibly knowledgeable, and I know that they're willing to step into your family situations as well. So, Jeannette, let me just ask you, why is it so tough to talk to our family members about money? We live with them every day. We talk to them about politics. We talk about health. We talk about sex. We have trouble talking about money.
I just think it stems from a number of reasons. I could tell you my personal experiences in the industry, and even growing up in a family that I never heard my parents talk about money, and that the baby boomer generation kind of parents kept certain discussions away from their children, and so we were socialized to not speak money matters. So I just think it's a lack of socialization about it's okay to talk about money matters with those immediately in your close network of friends and also your family. And as importantly, I think it's a function of we don't know what to compare anything to. So we always think we're not doing as well as the people next door or other family members, and we're kind of like it's an element of embarrassing because you just don't know what to compare it to. You don't know how to engage in the conversation.
Yeah, Eszylfie, you're a little bit younger than both Jeannette and me. I'm wondering if these conversations are becoming more common with millennials and members of Gen Z.
I wouldn't say that the conversations are more prevalent, but what I will say is, the younger generation certainly has more access and thirst for information and knowledge, and so with internet and social media and the chat functions out there, a lot of information is out there now. The challenge is it good information, right? Is the information that you're taking in, is it accurate? And the unfortunate thing about the internet is you're going to find whatever you're looking for, right? So it depends on what slant you're given. And so again, that's why my mindset is just, I think when you just explain to people this is how this works, not good or bad or why you should do it or not do it, but this is just how this works, then I think then people can make again their own decisions on what they want to do or not do.
And when you're explaining how it works, I think one of the things that sometimes make people reluctant to seek financial advice is that they're worried they're just going to be sold a product. That a product is going to be the focus of the conversation. I know when we spoke in preparation for this conversation, Eszylfie, you said it's not about product, it's about problems and figuring out a solution to the problem. Can you explain?
Yeah, that's what I say all the time. I don't sell products. I solve problems. And so really, if you're working with a financial advisor, probably 80% of your conversation should really be about your objectives and where you're at in relationship to your objectives, more so than buy this or put your money here or do that. I say if the only tool in your tool belt is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail, right? So from an advisor's perspective, we have to take a step back and eliminate our bias, eliminate our desires, eliminate our wishes, and really be in tune with what our clients are trying to accomplish. And when you understand where they are, and more importantly, where they want to be, then creating solutions, then creating plans, then maybe offering products that help them get there in the most efficient manner. And I think that's a challenge that we have as an advisory field, right? And working with our clients. And then the consumer, the average person, it's something that you can't shy away from. These things just don't take care of themselves. Oh, I'll worry about retirement later, or I'll do my estate planning later. Like, no, I mean, the one it's a bit of a morbid joke. I talk about death, but like none of us are getting out of here alive. Right. And when you think about insurance and estate planning, like life insurance in particular, it's the one insurance you product you'll buy that I guarantee you'll use. So it's not a matter of like, well, nah, not me. Like, yes, you and you and you, like everyone. Right. So if you think about it, if I don't come home tomorrow, what does my family need? Can I check that box? Can I do that proper planning? And if I live till I'm 100 years old, right, what will I need? What will my family need? And can I check that box? And one of the things and biggest challenges that I find that most people have is a lot of people have stuff, right, Gene? They have stuff like, oh, I've got some mutual funds, I've got some insurance, I've owned some real estate, but they haven't planned, right? They
Right.
have stuff, but they haven't planned. I always say if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it with amazing accuracy. So let's take a step back, identify where you are today, where do you want to be, and then actually do the planning. And I think that's something that that's sorely missed in the market today.
Eszylfie, I hope you have all these great sayings written down somewhere. If you
Oh yeah,
aim
I
at
have a whole I
nothing,
have
you
a
will
whole
hit it.
line of T-shirts and sweatshirts and hats and hoodies. You can now, but I actually I have created a whole series called Mind Body Money. There's a web series, docu series that I created, an app called Mind Body Money, where I share these principles. And I think I think Jeanette's very similar to me. It's not about the product. The product is of little consequence. It's really about the planning and the objectives that matter. It's really
Yeah. Jeanette,
about
I know you call it life planning. It's not even financial planning.
Yeah, Jean, and that's why financial planning is one element of a holistic planning process. Life planning represents far more because what I find is some people don't want to come talk about financial planning because they're going to get a bunch of spreadsheets and they think they're going to get a bunch of rates of return and hypothetical analysis of this, that, and the other investment. That's not financial planning. And that's why I said, let me just take that label off. I want more people to come to talk about their life plan. Life plan encompasses your estate plan, it encompasses your healthcare plan, it encompasses your financial plan, and it also encompasses your tax plan. They all have some element to do with financial planning. So I personally prefer to talk about it in the context of a life plan, a holistic lifestyle protection plan, because at the end of the day, all money serves to do is protect that lifestyle that you've spent an enormous amount of time thinking about, dreaming about, visualizing, and you need to achieve. But you got to have a plan, as Eszylfie said. You got to have a plan to get from point A to point B with predictability.
Yeah,
Because that can
absolutely.
happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I want to do with both of you is run through some scenarios. I want to run through some specific life events, things that we worry about when it comes to our money. And I want to talk about how to make sure that you're protected for those events and then the products that might help us do that. But before I get there, and Nikki, I will get to your scenario as one of them for sure. But before I get there, who to ask a question that I think is a really good one. Is there a point when you no longer need to buy life insurance or to have life insurance? I'm a 50-year-old single mother of a 22-year-old. At some point, can I drop it? Great, great question. Eszylfie, what do you think?
Sure. Again, it comes down to your intention, right? So when you think about it, there's two types of insurance. You have term insurance, you have permanent insurance. Term insurance, as the name suggests, is a temporary solution to a permanent problem. Permanent problem being none of us are getting out of here alive, right? And so when you think about it, yes, maybe my 22-year-old will turn 25 and 30 and so forth, and maybe they'll be off payroll and I'm not responsible for them anymore. But will I care or love my grandchild any less? Right. And so it really comes down to your objective. Do I want to put maximum dollars away for me, for my consumption, right? Which is fine. Or do I want to leave some money behind for my heirs? And that's why I like permanent insurance, because it allows you to do both. You can access values for you in life and leave that legacy piece as well. I know one thing in particular, especially as it relates to people of color, we don't do a good job of that in estate planning. The average white family leaves 3.5 times behind for their heirs what the average brown family does, and that goes a lot to estate planning and life insurance. And so I have 3 daughters, right? I have a 14-year-old daughter and twins who are 12. I used to pray to God that He'd send girls to hang all over me. He took me literally. He's like, here you go. Here's 3 of them. So be careful what you ask for. But right, but I've got these 3 girls, and everything that I have, I'm going to leave for them. And they know not only to take what I leave them, but they know whatever I give them, they've got to make it 10 times bigger. Right. So that's how you really create and perpetuate wealth, not only with, mutual funds and stocks and real estate. That's great. But life insurance it can be an integral part of that. So,
Yeah.
it's a case by case scenario, but, and again, maybe, I got a 20-year term because in 20 years my mortgage will be paid off. But can you guarantee me you'll never buy another home or even refinance the home that you have? And still need insurance. I don't know, right? But I would rather someone have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
I completely hear everything you're saying. I do think that for some people, if you've gone the route of term insurance, and I have both term insurance and permanent insurance, um, eh, there comes a point at which maintaining that term, once you've exhausted your 20-year term or your 30-year term, becomes difficult as you age. And I think the goal with that term insurance is to get to a point in your financial life where you've checked off the boxes for your retirement, you've paid off the mortgage, you've paid off for college or whatever you're contributing to college, and you know that at this point you can leave the term insurance and let it lapse. It's one way of looking at the scenario. Jeannette, let's talk about these life events. Let's start with thinking about what happens if you lose a source of income. Maybe you lose a job. Maybe you um, maybe you lose a spouse. Maybe you have somebody in the family who was a provider of income die. I mean, we were just talking about life insurance. How do you make sure that you are protected, and how do you sort of check the boxes off in terms of product? So how do you know how much you need, and then how do you get it?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And of course, the answer is specific to your unique situation. For instance, if it's a couple and one prematurely loses a job, or more invasively, they walk out on life. They're no longer here and they lost their job, but they lost that income. Forget that it's a job. That's where life insurance has a lot of relevance. It's called lost income replacement. And what is the capital that we need to replace in the event that we lose this income? But more importantly, when it comes to latter life stages, when you lose a source of income, a lot happens. It's not, or excuse me, when one of you passes away, and with it goes the income in the form of a pension plan or a social security benefit. You've got to understand the what if scenarios. That's why my planning is called lifestyle scenario planning. It's because we have to look and understand all the different scenarios and what does happen if my husband or my wife or my significant other, we may not be married, we may be living in a 30-40 year partnership and we never got married. So that has a different implication for who gets what when one passes away. You've been living as a partnership. Well, you don't get to run and loop back into the higher of the two social security benefits, and you can't have a survivor benefit on a pension plan. And that's where the planning is essential to do what if scenarios. What is the impact of this lost income, and how much of it should be replaced with life insurance, the right kind of life insurance? How much of it should be replaced with an annuity income stream that I could flip on and get lifetime income to replace a portion or all of that lost income? I think that's really important to understand. The products and the solutions are a function of the plan.
Um, Another scenario, and this one Nikki teed up for us, is having a disabled adult child or a special needs child. How do you that's a very different curve of expectations in terms of wanting to or needing to provide support on an ongoing basis. This is not necessarily a child that you are expecting to become independent. Eszylfie, how do you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it's estate planning. Anyone with real property should have a basic trust, right? Your trust, which includes your portable will, healthcare directives, durable power of attorney, and then if you have a child with special needs, then there's an additional special needs trust that you should look at, and that's important because that will allow you to leave money for that child and not disrupt maybe if they're on any local or government subsidized care, and those benefits won't be interrupted. But again, these things don't just happen, right? You have to do the proper planning. But those are, that's where, and I'm sure Jeannette would attest to this too. It's not just the relationship with the financial advisor, the estate planning attorney, the accountants, right? The bankers. We all need to work in concert together to protect and create a plan for our clients. You see, I don't believe in perfect products. There's no one thing that someone's going to buy or put the money in that's the end all. But I do, however, believe in perfect planning through balance and diversification and running through these various scenarios like Jeannette mentioned and saying, can we stress test this? And if the worst thing happens, how do we fare? And if we could say we'd be all right, right? Hope for the best, plan for the worst. And that's how I work with my clients.
Jeannette, do you have that kind of relationship with attorneys and with other experts as you're working on behalf of your clients? And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I guess I should talk to an estate planning attorney. I don't really know one. I guess I should find a financial advisor. I don't really know one. How do you find these people?
Very carefully, and you interview them. And I know that you can find some. You can. I get a lot of referrals from my relationship with the Alliance for Protected Income. It's very important. And then I have a tax IRA tax planning expertise, so I get referrals from the Ed Slott organization, where these resources have been vetted. They're just not any resources, they've been vetted. But more importantly, it's critical to work as an integrated team. And I tell all the individuals and the families I serve, you deserve better out of this financial industry than you're getting. You're more than a financial consumer. You're a family, you're a life that needs specialized care. And what I do is I partner with attorneys, CPAs, professional trustees that I have vetted, because they have to be like-minded. They have to operate in the best interests, as close to fiduciary care responsibilities as they can for their unique specialization. And I bring them to the table and I tell my clients, you deserve a team working on your behalf. Because what we find is the estate planning attorney, many of us don't know what to ask an estate planning attorney, and many estate planning attorneys don't dig deep into the life plan. It's the life plan that uncovers some spendthrift children or some special needs children or even grandchildren. And what happens when your kid gets a divorce and they got their inheritance. So it's being at the table and having the conversation with all the professionals that you need to put together that holistic plan. The attorney, the CPA, the investment advisor, whoever we need for our we talked about special needs children. I'm amazed at how many of our very senior clients are still the caregivers for a special needs adult child. we have to really be careful who that trustee is, who is the professional trustee of that special needs trust. It's not just any family member or anybody just because they're related to the special needs. That could potentially create conflict. So I encourage you to really think about what is it that you need, and then align a team. You're the quarterback of your life plan. Align that team around it in order for them to work together. And if that CPA is not talking to that investment advisor, and that investment advisor is not talking on your behalf to the estate planning attorney, you've got some gaps in your plan, and you want to close those gaps before life throws you a curveball and you realize there's a problem.
Yeah, 100%. Back to the scenarios for a second. During the pandemic, many people retired sooner than they thought they would. The job dried up. It wasn't easy to work because of caregiving responsibilities. People, in large part women, exited the workforce and are potentially not going back. And now they're facing the biggest retirement fear of all, which is, how do I make sure that my money lasts as long as I do? If you're sitting at the table with a person like this, Eszylfie, how do you help them plan so that they've got 30 years ahead of them, if not more, where the money continues to come in?
Sure. I mean, this is a huge challenge. I was reading a retirement planning survey that a bunch of retirees were polled, and they asked them, "What do you have a greater risk of, right? Dying or outliving your money?" And 71% of people said, "I have a greater fear of outliving my money than I do dying." Right? At least dying
Hmm.
has some finality to it. So there's a way to offset that risk, and there are a variety of fixed income products, in particular, like guaranteed income annuities that can provide a stream of income to people in retirement. And I ask one simple question, right? Do you want a probable outcome or a predictable one? Right? And most people in retirement want some level of predictability, right? So as a general rule of thumb, take the amount of money you want to live on an annual basis, whatever number that is, and multiply that number by 20. That is your target retirement savings number. With the idea being, if I said, hey, I want $50,000 a year of income in retirement, that'd be great for me. 50,000 times 20 is $1 million. Why? Because a 5% payout rate on $1 million would generate $50,000 a year of income to me in perpetuity. And there's so much value and peace of mind to know that you have an income stream that's not going to outlive. Now, when you look at it, will the predictable outcome give me the greatest return on my money? No, not necessarily. Will it give me the most flexibility? No, not necessarily, right? But what we do not want to compromise is that 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 basic baseline, right, of income and standard of living. We do not want that compromised. And then anything you have or can grow beyond that, then that's gravy. So for me, I really try to help clients identify, that number, because I love the adage, what got you here might not get you there. So what measures you took to accumulate money while you were working probably aren't the same things you're going to need to use, and strategies you need to employ while you're in the distribution phase. Because while you're working, you can stomach market volatility, right? You're dollar cost averaging, you're buying low, you're not taking withdrawals in the market dips and cementing in losses. But it's a different ball game, right? When you have X saved and you're drawing income and the market drops 20, 30% in a year, then what do you do? Right. And so we want to guard against that type of risk.
It involves a very important conversation that many people don't have, which is, what does retirement look like? How are we going to live? How much is it going to cost? What do you see, partner of mine, and how is that different than what I see if you have a partner? Jeannette, we don't have those simple conversations.
No, and that's a good point, Jean, because when I work with couples, in fact, I created an educational program called Critical Conversations for Couples, because couples are not having those critical conversations. And I tell them, I want you to just each of you as an independent give me your dream retirement, visualize that retirement, and I will put cost to it. You just let yourself go. How do you visualize your future retirement? And it can be his plan, her plan, and then our plan. Until you can bring those together and reconcile, it doesn't make sense to spend your retirement lifestyle just arguing over if you have a spender and a saver and you have to argue over it. Let's just come to terms with where we are and let's have that conversation. What is the sweet spot for how much we can spend on discretionary versus core lifestyle? And how do we put a plan together that gives us that predictability that we've been talking about? We want a predictable outcome. We get predictable outcome through a plan. You don't get it through investments or through products. You get it through putting together all the proper solutions and financial tools that equal that vision that you have with predictability and certainty. And I think that's what's really critical is even couples. It's one thing to say, the parents are not talking to kids about financial matters and we're not talking to our friends about financial matters. But you know what? Financial matters are not being discussed by the couples to the depth and breadth they need to discuss because they're meddling when they talk about, honey, what's going to happen when you die?
Yeah.
Where am I going to be left? And then what's going to happen when she dies and she's got that big pension income that they didn't have paid out across joint survivor? What's going to happen? So all those are discussions that you need a third party facilitator, a like-minded financial professional that helps navigate through that, and not one that's trying to sell you products, one that's just trying to sort through where are the gaps, and then let's fix the gaps because we're all problem solvers.
You just raised an interesting point. We know that many people do not have pensions anymore. Only about 17% of people, according to the last numbers that I saw in this country, have a pension. If you do have a pension and you are part of a couple, what is the best election?
If I may, I
Yeah.
think one, we have to understand that not all pension plans are created equal, right? There are varying benefits. So I think it's something that we have to look at on a case by case basis. If you do work in an organization or company that does offer a pension, I would actually encourage you to look at your projected benefits sooner than later, because one of the strategies that's oftentimes missed is a concept called pension maximization. So it's not always a default where you always take the survivor option or you always take the lump sum. It's case by case. So when I look at a scenario, number one, I say, does the plan even allow for a lump sum distribution? And if it does, then I'm going to do this analysis. If the plan allows for a lump sum distribution, can I match or create more income with a guaranteed income product than the pension plan does? And if I can, even if it's comparable, I will take the lump sum. And the reason is most pension plans, like 99.9% of them, do not allow for non-spousal beneficiaries. Meaning if I take that pension benefit, that life income benefit from my pension plan, and I pass away, yes, I can leave that benefit to my spouse. But if I'm not married, the benefit goes away. Or if my spouse predeceases me, benefit goes away. That kind of stinks. And I've witnessed that firsthand. My mother worked for Social Security Administration for 49 years and just retired a year ago, right? She passes away tomorrow. That 49 years of contributions, thanks for playing. It's gone. That kind of stinks, right? So assuming that I have the ability to take that money out, create a comparable or greater income, and leave a non-spousal beneficiary, I will. Now let's assume, nope, Eszylfie, I work for an organization that does not allow me to take a distribution, right? A lump sum. I have to take their income option. What do I do? Do I take life income only and get the greatest payout for me, or do I leave a survivor benefit? Now, most of us who are married, your spouse isn't going to not let you take a survivor benefit. Like you're going to say that's a survivor benefit. But when you do that, you take a reduced sum. So, for example, let's say that life income only, just for you, paid $5,000 a month, and that survivor benefit paid $4,000 a month, right? You're probably going to take that survivor benefit because you go, well, if I pass away, yes, it's lower, but at least my beneficiary can still get that 4K a month. What pension maximization allows us to do, it's an analysis that we do. What is the difference between life income only and life with a survivor option? And can I buy life insurance, right, to replace that lost income? For example, if I could buy a life insurance policy for $500 a month, right, that could create an income stream should I pass away, I will actually take the life income only. I'll take the $5,000 a month. knowing that, yes, when I pass away, the benefit will stop, but that income is replaced by a life insurance policy. So if I get $5,000 a month and I spend $500 on life insurance, so I net $4,500, that's actually more money in my pocket than taking the $4,000 survivor benefit that the plan offers. Make sense? So it's a
Eszylfie, these
real,
are the kind of things we have to look at on a piece of paper, I
yeah.
think, right? I
And
mean, what you're
yeah,
talking about, very, I love the detail,
yeah,
but very complicated scenarios, and yet another reason why we need to make sure that we've got qualified professionals in our corner, that we've got the right advisors, that we've got the right team. I want to ask about one more scenario as we wrap this up. We've talked an awful lot about couples. Single women are one of the fastest growing demographics in this country. Jeannette, you talked about elder orphans. What's an elder orphan, and how does their planning need to be different?
Yes, and this is amazing, the growth of the elder orphan. These are elder orphans or seniors in latter life stages that are navigating their latter life stages as a solo. They don't have children, they don't have family members, they don't have brothers, sisters. They are truly orphans by definition of they don't have anyone to help them make those healthcare decisions or make those financial decisions. And many of them, many elder orphans that, because I know I serve quite a few of them, and I'm on the elder orphan face group page because I learned so much, and I learned how to help the ones that make their way to my office. But elder orphans have very unique financial issues and considerations. They need help, and they need more or less like life care management support added to their financial team. It's an elder care capability that I know we're finding the need to add to our financial planning firm because we've served someone for 15, 20 years, and now they need to figure out, where do I move? Where do I age? I can't stay in my home. I need to sell my home. How do we do the financial analysis to help these elder orphans understand where's the next place that they're going to park themselves and live? Is it a continuing care retirement community? Is it assisted living? Which state do they want to relocate? Is there a remote possibility that they might have friends in another state? Because socialization is one of the greatest gaps in this generation, in this population. And they need to go into community, and that's where we need to navigate them, and that has different financial implications. So many women are navigating latter life stages as an elder orphan. I had a client just last week come in and say, I don't want to handle my day-to-day finances anymore. I don't have anybody I can trust, because the highest financial fraud, the greatest level of financial fraud, is evolving with these senior population, and it's by their caregivers and their family members, and we have to protect this generation.
I totally agree. It sounds like that is a topic we should dig into further, and I do just think that single people in general have different needs, a greater need for disability insurance, not so much of a need for life insurance, and unless there are businesses and other things that you're looking to protect, a greater need for long-term care insurance, and perhaps a greater need for continuing lifetime income. This has been fascinating, Eszylfie and Jeannette. Thank you so much. Take another 30 seconds. Tell our audience where they can find more about you and your work. Jeannette, you first.
You can Google me, and you'll find all the books and the articles I've written, or you can go into womans-worth.com, or my other company, petrosplanning.com. Or you can just do a Google search. I do a lot of work with the Alliance for Lifetime Income. I'm passionate about the message of protected income. And so you could find me in all those arenas. Or you can listen to my podcasts, Woman's Worth Radio, or listen to my radio show. You can get live streamed.
You're a busy woman.
Yeah.
Eszylfie.
Yeah, I'm pretty prevalent on Google as well, but my company is Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. The website's Taylor, INSFIN.com, Taylor Insurance and Financial Services. You can find more about my series, Mind, Body, Money, on mindbodymoney.com. I have an app I encourage everyone to download as well in the App Store, mind.body.money. I also have a radio show called Ask the Experts on Dash Talk Radio that you can tune into, listen to archived interviews there as well. I have a book also on Amazon called Ask the Experts, where I go through the nuances of insurance, investments, estate planning, banking, taxes, all these things we're asked to make decisions about in life, yet never given a rule book on how they work. So certainly out there, and then on every social media platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So Eszylfie Taylor, appreciate you for having me today. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys for being here, and appreciate the Alliance for Lifetime Income for sponsoring this program. As always, if you're looking for more information, in particular for more information about how to find a financial advisor to work with you, to work for you, you can go to our website at protectedincome.org. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.